Okay, tonight we're going to talk about how to write linear equations given slope and a point. You've done it already with a graph. Now instead of having to pull that information off the graph, you're just going to be given the information and you're going to have to do the same things with it. Write it in all three forms. So I want you to make sure that you get the date and your page number, the title and the learning target down. If you need to pause it, you can. Make sure you add this in your table of contents. So first thing I want to do is I want to review all three of these forms for a linear equation. And you've talked about them with graph method and all that stuff too. The first one I want to talk about is point slope form. This is your x1, y1. This is the point that you're going to start at, where m is your slope. Okay? And slope intercept form, you're given slope and the y-intercept, that point. And then standard form, I want to make sure that you remember that a, b, and c are integers, which means positive and negative whole numbers. So if you don't remember this from the past, you need to take a second and write this down. Pause it if you need to, because we're going to move on. So before, when you had a graph, you had to write all this information down, and you had to figure out a point that it crossed and the slope to do point slope form. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with point slope form. So when we go to write it in point slope form, the easiest way is to use your blanks. The formula was y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So the easiest way again to do that would be y minus blank equals m times x minus blank, and then just fill in what we know. Well, we know that m is 2, and we know that this is my x1, y1. So x is 5 and y is 3. And there's nothing to clean up here. I don't have like minus a negative or anything crazy. So this is my answer if I asked you to write this in point slope form. Point slope form is actually the easiest. The next form, slope intercept form, that's this y equals mx plus b. It was a lot easier from a graph because b specifically is your y-intercept, but you can't tell what the y-intercept is with this point. That's the point 5, 3. If I was to draw a graph, this point 5, 3 is like right here. Okay, that doesn't tell me where the y-intercept is, and I can't see that unless I actually drew out all the points on the graph. So there's a couple different ways to do this. The first way would be if we wanted to start with our point slope form that we got over here. We could use that. And if I want it to be in y equals mx plus b form, which is slope intercept form, then I would move everything just away from the y. So I could start by distributing this 2 and get 2x minus 10. Bring this down, y minus 3. Y is still not by itself, so I could add 3, and my answer is y equals 2x minus 7. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do slope intercept form here is I could plug in what I know and solve for b. So for example, if I was going to do, so this is the other way. This is one way. Option 1, this is option 2. I know that it needs to be y equals mx plus b. Well, I could plug in what I know. I know a y is 3. I know an m is 2. I know an x is 5. I don't know b. That's what I need to solve for. You can do this for any point that's on the graph. So if I was going to do this, I would get 3 equals 2 times 5 is 10, minus 10, minus 10, negative 7 is equal to b. So you see that negative 7 is equal to b here too. Y equals m was 2, x minus 7. You get the same answer. I personally don't care which way you do it. So if I asked you slope intercept form, you could either start in point slope and solve for y, or you could just plug in what you know and solve for b. Either one of those is fine with me. The last method, standard form, if you remember and look back here, standard form you can't have any fractions. A, B, and C are integers. So when you rewrite it, you need to have the x and the y on the same side. It needs to look like this. And in this case, I don't have any fractions, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to go from this form. You can go from this form if you want to, but you would still have to distribute out and get this far. So I'm going to go from this form, then I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to make sure I don't have any fractions, which I don't, so they're not a problem this time. In the future, we'll have to worry about that. We'll worry about that tomorrow in class, but I'm going to start from slope-intercept form. Notice that the equal sign is over here on this one, and that means that I need to move this 2x to the left side to get it out of the way. So in order to move it, I would subtract 2x from both sides. These are not like terms, so notice the x comes before the y, so I would write it negative 2x plus y since I can't combine them together because they're not like terms. Here's my equal sign, and the only thing left over here is negative 7, and that one is finished as well. So that one is in standard form right there. And slope-intercept form was this, and you can choose option 1 or option 2.